One of the biggest mistakes in Call of Dragons isn't investing in a bad hero. Honestly, bad heroes are usually pretty easy to spot. The biggest mistake is investing in a hero after their best days are already behind them. And the reason I start thinking about this is because lately I've been looking at some reports that just don't make sense. You know that feeling when a march you have used forever, suddenly start looking weaker? Not terrible, not unusable, just different. Like something feels off. And recently, I've been having that exact feeling with some of my older lineups. I start looking at the reports, I start changing pets, I start changing artifacts, starts changing pairs even. And the worst part was that I couldn't find immediately the problem. Because on paper, everything still was looking good. The heroes were still strong, the skills didn't change, the pets were decent, the artifacts were decent. I mean, let's be honest, all of my artifacts is like, phew, brother, is I'm going to even show you my artifacts. Just have to open it. Just 1 second. Yeah, look at this thing. I mean, the artifacts. Look at this thing. Is like level 5 terrifying fire inferno, level 5 example this is mirage orb, example dragon's fate. This one is even doomstar is level 5. Okay, I don't have the example version, but still I think the majority of the people get the idea from a point of artifacts. So where was the report? So why were the report getting worse? And that's where I think I finally noticed something. Most of us don't actually notice when a hero starts failing off. We notice when the report become impossible to ignore. And those are two very different moments, because by the time the report look bad, the meta has usually already moved. And I think this is where a lot of players get trapped. Not because they are making stupid decisions, but because they are making logical decisions using old information. For example, let's say you have a hero that dominated 6 months ago. Maybe they were one of the strongest heroes in the game. Maybe everybody recommending them. Maybe content creators talk about them. Maybe everywhere use them. You know, there is just at one point, especially heroes like Kuma. I mean, I believe Kuma still these days is one of the best heroes in this game. But yeah, when you see everybody's using one hero, it's obvious the things where the things are going. So naturally, when you get resources, you keep investing. Because why won't you? The hero already provide they were strong. The problem isn't that the problem is that the strange isn't permanent. And Call of Dragons has a sneaky way of hiding that from the players, because heroes rarely go from amazing to terrible overnight. That's not what usually happen. What happens is much more dangerous. They slowly become less special, and that's harder to notice. And I'm going to give you one. I'm going to give you one example with that. For example, my Lilia. I mean, back in the days, this lady was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And at one point, she was doing, crazy amount of damage. But at one point, the reports of my Lilia didn't actually look that nice. And yeah, I have some reports here of my Lilia, and boy, Lilia Verin, yeah, here it make like 47k, which is not wow, but normally it's making like 30k. My point is, when Lilia was dominating, the counterattack of the infantry was not present. So when the counterattack of infantry come in the game, Lilia become more weaker, because hitting a single target, you're receiving the same amount of damage in the form of counterattack or pet damage from what you're doing, sometimes even more, which, is absolutely wild. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's just hard to notice. A hero that used to be top 3 become top 5, then top 7, then top 10. And during every step of that process, they still look usable. They still win fights. They still get kills. They still generate decent reports. So players keep spending. Then I start thinking about something else. How many times have you heard somebody say, this hero feels weaker? Not that the hero is weak, just weaker. That's an important difference, because when players start saying that, they're usually looking for a nerf. They're looking for a hidden change, they're looking for a bug, they're looking for explanation. But what if nothing actually changed? What if the hero stayed exactly the same? What if everything around the hero changed instead? Because that's what power creep actually looks like. The dangerous part about power creep is that it doesn't attack your hero directly. It attacks the hero's positioning in the game. And I think that's why so many players miss it. Imagine you're running a lineup that was incredible 2 generations ago. Your heroes didn't lose stats, your hero didn't lose skills, your hero didn't lose talents, everything else just got stronger. And now you're trying to win today's fight with yesterday advantages. Then things get even more interesting, because once I start thinking about the heroes this way, I realize the problem isn't really heroes. The problem is timing. I think timing is one of the most underrated skill in the game. No, not who you invest in, when you invest it, when you do your investment, because there's are heroes that are absolutely worth investing it. The question is whether they're worth investing it today. That's a completely different question, and I have been catching myself doing this too. You look at the hero, you know they're strong, you know they will improve your account, then you remember that the next generation is coming. Now suddenly you're stuck. Do you improve an account you have, or prepare for account you're going to have? That's not an easy decision, and honestly I think this is where a lot of veteran players separate themselves from the newer players. Newer players usually ask, is this hero good? Veteran players ask, will this hero still be good after I'm done investing it? That's a much harder question, because investing takes time. Universal medals takes time. Resources takes time. Tokens takes time. Everything takes time. And when you are building one thing, the game keep moving. Then I notice another weird pattern. The heroes that create the most regret are rarely bad heroes. Think about that. Nobody regrets keeping terrible heroes. Nobody wake up 1 year later wishing they're invested in the garbage. The heroes that create regret are usually strong heroes. Heroes that absolutely work it. Heroes that absolutely got value. Heroes that absolutely help your account. And for me, to be fair, I'm start thinking over my poor Lilia, because to be fair, she's a hero that maybe soon I'm going to replace. I really don't like to say it, because even she's having like artifact with her, but this is a good hero. I mean, the majority of the people playing Call of Dragons, they know this is a good hero. This is a hero that, was on the top of the food chain from Generation 1 mages to Generation 4 mages, till Yu Ming was presented in the game. So we know how powerful is Lilia. This is not a question, but it can create regrets in your head. The regrets comes from what showed up afterward. That's what hurts, not the investor. Now that investment failed, that something better appeared before the investment finished paying itself back. And I think that's why those decisions feel so difficult, because you're not choosing between good and bad, you're choosing between good and future good. And those are very different choices. Then I start looking at my own account, looking at older investments, looking at heroes I was excited about, looking at hero I could wait to unlock. And honestly, a lot of them still work. But that's exactly what makes this thing dangerous, because players here still work and immediately stop thinking. But still work is not same as still leading. And that's where I think the biggest mistake happened. We're keep investing because something still work, instead of asking whether it's still pulling our account forward. Those are different questions, and the funny thing is, I don't think there's a perfect answer. Sometimes investing immediately is correct, sometimes saving is correct, sometimes the future hero end up to be disappointing everybody, sometimes the current hero remain relevant for another year. Nobody know. But I do think there is one less lesson here. When your report finally start looking bad, you're probably already late, because the real shift usually happen much earlier. The reports are just when you finally notice it. And that's why lately I've been paying less attention to whether a hero is strong and more attention to whether that hero is becoming less important. Because I think that's the question most players never ask until it's too late. And I'm curious if you have experienced this thing too. Was there ever a hero you invested in that worked perfectly fine, but later you realized the game had already moved on? Let me know, because honestly I think every veteran player has at least one story like that.